Good morning, everyone, or just hi, whenever you're watching this. I guess I might post in the morning, but not everybody listens immediately, and that's okay. You can get to it. Maybe you're watching it on a different morning. It's okay. Maybe you've just woken up. Also, okay. Good morning. um, so today we are jumping back into our regular rhythm. And we're going to be talking about the counterpart card to Temperance. And if you haven't listened or watched that episode, that's fine. If you'd like a little bit of context, I don't think there's too much that we talked about in that episode, aside from just like the unlikely counterpart that we see in the deck to Temperance, and that is the Magician. So today we're going to be unpacking sort of the history, the origins of the Magician, and what the Magician might entail when you get it in a tarot reading. Um, this is a really, really interesting card, and it's one of the It's one of the few cards that I guess when it's in reverse, it's a bit more touchy. We'll get there. We'll get there. Normally, I say just because something's in reverse doesn't mean it's bad. With this one, it leans more towards like an awareness of the negative, rather than something more specific. So yeah, to start off, I wanted us to take a look at the card. I'll put it up on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube. So we've got blues working together in this, little orbs of light, I guess, like little white orbs floating around um, the card itself, and then we have um, in the sort of background this little circle of stars, and that circle of stars is placed above the sort of bottom of someone's face. So we have just above their nose to their chin cut out, and the stars sort of makes a connection as like the rest of their head. um, And I did include a little flower here. Um, and there's some symbolism and some aspects of this that I will be covering, having it unfold a little bit more throughout this episode. So, a few things that I wanted to note. If you know anything about the Magician card, you'll probably know that manifestation is like one of the key ideas that we see come out with this card, especially when it's upright. So, manifestation a lot of the time is associated to things that we speak. It's the power of words. You know, you can my mom always said, put it out in the universe, speak it into existence, that kind of thing. So, with this imagery, we have the bottom of the face, which is the part that we use to communicate in a way that's widely known and accepted as like primary communication. There's a bunch of different modes of communication that we can consider, but I just figured the inclusion of someone's mouth would give us the idea of speaking things into existence. And then on top of that, we have, like I said, the stars that kind of complete this person's head. Um, and I like this idea of the stars and sort of like this like out of this world concept, where it's like something might be just a twinkle in your eye or something like that. Like it's out of reach until you speak it into existence, and then the stuff of your mind becomes your reality. Um, so that's sort of what I wanted to bring out with this card, is the magic that you have in your head. You can use your words to enact that in your real life. Um, and yeah, the flower is sort of this idea of transformation, which comes with a lot of the cards that we see in this deck, because it is just our destined journey to be ever transforming. Um, and but this element of transformation comes from the situation and speaking things into existence using your resources, and stuff like that. So I thought a little tiny flower was a cute little way of representing that, because flowers go through their own transformations, and this was sort of like, it's not the exact same flower, obviously, as the Temperance card, but it sort of captures that same idea. And this flower is like a full realization of the flower. It's like in full bloom, um, and has reached that state of transformation. Whereas when we looked at the Temperance card, we had each of the steps of said transformation with the bleeding hearts. Um, so yeah, I think we're good. Um, I suppose we can talk about the orbs. This is leading us more into, like, I guess, the history sort of the magician card, because it made me think of those, like, um the balls that you put under, um under cups, and you kind of do, like, you switch them around on the table. It's like a fun little game at a party to mess with people's perceptions and show them that they don't really remember things, or like they can't follow change. So yeah, I feel like I'm doing a poor description, but basically you've got like three cups. I'm picturing red Solo cups, but three cups, and you've got a little ball, and you put it under one cup, and then you just kind of shift them on the table, and you ask, where did the ball go? And they have to pick. I think people do that with their pets now. But I remember that was kind of like an illusion trick. So I thought that fit pretty nicely into the history of the magician card. So let's dive in. Sorry you had to hear that. Um, so the magician card, obviously, magicianry has been kind of a thing for a while, but it, like in the Middle Ages, was more of like a traveling entertainment based thing. Um, and we would have like these individuals who would travel from place to place and show these magic tricks. Usually it was like a sleight of hand, illusion, that kind of stuff. Very Chris Angel of them. I don't know if that ages me. Excuse me. Um, but this was associated to a term that honestly I am not entirely sure how to pronounce. Mountebank, mountebank. Um, could be saying that incredibly wrong, but it's from memory Mountebank. So, Mountebank. But these were street performers who often relied on sleight of hand. Um, and I would imagine weren't necessarily always revered. Um, and I say this partially because people don't often like to be deceived, you know? There's always going to be a stick in the mud who doesn't see it as a fun little show of magic and is like, hey, you took my wallet. Anyways, stick in the mud. Am I right? Thievery. Not saying that it was all like that. I'm just saying, someone's gonna complain about it. Um, People always complain about things they don't understand. So if you don't know the magic trick, you're gonna be like, what the heck? Anywho, um, but there was definitely a transition between this being like a fun little trick that you would see a street performer do. And there were shifts, probably because of the people that didn't really like this type of performance. We saw the shift go towards this style of entertainment being associated with magic and the occult in a bad kind of way. Um, and that might actually sort of be the turning point where this became sort of a symbolic image that would be used for the tarot cards later on. So, fun little history tour. Wow, time traveling. Um, so, when we talk about the magician card, obviously, I want to jump back to the temperance card and how we've got like the slow transition. We see all the steps happening in front of us for the temperance card, but with the magician card we have something that's fully kind of boom, it's realized, it's there. Um and I want to note that these are counterparts in the way that it's like two sides of the same coin. It's not I guess it's sort of like a yin and yang situation. Um, but this one is it's sort of to the point where you can't really have both at the same time. Temperance is all about waiting. It's about having patience and knowing things will sort of come about to your own purpose. Like showing you your own purpose in this timeline, but you have to surrender. You have to just let it be and let it unfold. Whereas the magician, you take matters into your own hands. So this is the kind of card that is heavily associated to your skills, your creativity, your resources, and the work that you put in. So it's like I said, two sides of the same coin. Is it work or is it rest? Is it surrender or is it do? Um, so if you're really wondering what to do about a situation, um, this is a great way to figure it out if one of these comes out in your reading. And if both of them come out in your reading, this can be sort of an example of looking at the things that you can control versus the things that you cannot control and then acting within that. So they work in tandem to be like a separation tool for you to really focus in on the things that you are able to change, are able to manipulate, are able to use as resources in the situation, as opposed to the things that you're going to be wasting your time and energy on if you pour too much into that trying to control it. So, good thing to keep in mind if these two cards come out together. Um, or if you have a good relationship with your cards, which I kind of talked about, I think, in episode 1. If you have a good relationship with your cards, you might sort of get this idea pop into your head in a reading if you get the Magician card at some point, and your brain kind of immediately brings you to the idea of temperance. Um, as a counterpart, this might be sort of your intuition being like, okay, we have to figure out what things we can control and what things we should not attempt to control. Um, but yeah, this card is about bringing things from your mind to reality through manifestation. And this can be through spoken word, written word, intention, whatever. But with the Magician, there's always going to be something that you can physically do, something that you can do in order for this to be actualized in the real world. What that may be, maybe your intuition knows, maybe other cards that come out in your reading can tell you. But yeah, Magician signals that it's time for you to rely on your natural skills and resources that you have available to you. So, with this card in the upright, there's like a lot of positive energy when it comes to the things that you can make a reality for yourself. Um, like really consider the ways in which you have connections with other people who can help you realize your dreams, your desires, your ideas, that kind of thing. Um, on the flip side, however, like I said, sort of at the beginning of this episode, the Magician also represents trickery and deceit. And this idea, this representation goes back to sort of the negative ideas of the mountebank person, and the potential of well, the mountebank's sleight of hand and general trickery wasn't great for everybody. So with this card in reverse, this is more of something that's being enacted on you, something that maybe you should be aware of. And yeah, so if this card comes out in reverse in your reading, it's usually a sign to consider the people that are around you and what their intentions might be, because they might not be as they seem. And the Magician reverse, like as much as, like I said, reverse doesn't necessarily mean bad. This card in reverse is being that friend that's telling you like, hey, this sucks, but so and so doesn't have your best intentions at heart, so be careful. Um, Also, in the reverse stance, this might signify, and of course, this will depend like on your intuition, what guides you in a specific reading. It might have to do with the cards around it, like if you get the Three of Swords with the Magician in reverse, probably someone's deceiving you. Not a good look. But, important to know because then you can, like, prepare. But, uh, yeah, and, like, in a different kind of circumstance, or if you, if your intuition just kind of doesn't feel like that fits, then it might be more of an association to your your view of yourself in a certain situation, and how you might not feel, uh, like you might feel deceptive in that situation because you don't feel like you have the resources, you don't feel like you have the skills. um Imposter syndrome. So, like, it's not that you're actually deceiving someone. At least I hope you're not. Maybe consider that too. uh, and work on that a little. But yeah, it could just represent, that you're feeling like a little imposter in your situation, whether that's like a, a new workplace, or what you're studying, even relationship wise, you know? So it really depends on sort of what cards are around it, as well as listening to your intuition. That's such an important part. Um, and yeah, like, the reverse isn't necessarily bad per se. It is gonna alert you to things that aren't necessarily great, but not bad. Um, so when we see the Magician card come out, um, just to give like a brief overview, upright, this is a time for us to really lean into the skills and resources that we have available to us to bring our ideas to the material world, to see something actualized, to speak it into existence, because we have that power, the power of manifestation, the power of our words. They're very strong things, so be careful what you wish for, and what you work on. But it is possible. On the flip side, this might, like I said, be an indication of some level of deceit or trickery. Whether that's valid in that it's coming from an outside thing that you should be aware of, or it's something within yourself that you're telling yourself you're deceiving others, um, because you don't feel like your gifts are your own, like your skills are your own, like your resources are your own. And this is just something that, you can work on over time. The cards just highlight sort of the path of transformation. And, you could start with a reading with it in reverse and know that it is an association to your imposter syndrome. And then, after doing the work, you can do a reading again and maybe it'll come out upright and be like, oh, you've had the power to manifest all along. Surprise. Um, so it really is all about perspective. And to further that, like, sometimes, um, it really isn't about, um, sometimes it really isn't about the situation. It's about your attitude toward this situation, specifically in the imposter syndrome scenario. So these are just things to consider. But that wraps up our conversation about the Magician card. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.